Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan. I'm here with my partner, Pete. Hey, Pete.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Everything better than great today. You know why.
I'm a bit scared, I got to tell you. I think there's a small chance we get lynched based on what happens today.
No. Today is the day. What Pete is referring to is that he and I break down our 10 most influential, consequential, important, and iconic Star Wars characters of all time. And this is, I think, the genesis of this idea is after we finished season 3 of The Mandalorian, we realized that The Mandalorian has now ingrained himself within a very important pantheon of Star Wars characters. So we thought it would be good for us to stir the hornet's nest and discuss who we think our 10 most important characters are of all time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm
honestly,
excited. You seem nervous.
My palms are sweaty, man. I'm a bit worried because I went through my list and there's some names that are missing on this list that people are going to be like, how could you forget this jackass? Oh my God. Okay.
10 is 10. No matter what
10.
happens, everyone's going to leave someone important off of their top 10 list. That's what
Yeah. So quick talk about that. So I provided Ethan with a rough list of Star Wars, what I call hero characters. So that doesn't mean they're good guys, but I mean, these are characters that are so famous and so iconic and so well known that generally speaking, you understand who they are just by seeing them on screen. I also made sure.
And that list, to put it into context, had 43 names.
Yeah. And even more context, I purposefully avoided any of the animated shows because I wanted to make sure that between Ethan and myself, we had a level playing field. Because if we include the animated shows, there's at least another 5 or 6 names on there. At least.
Let's say you take those 5 or 6 names, though. Would anyone have made your top 10 list?
Potentially. No, really? But they would have made my... No, you're right. They wouldn't have, but...
They would have made your reserves, your all-star reserves.
So exactly. Yeah. I think I've got 2 all-star reserves, and I genuinely think Ahsoka would have been on there as one of the all-star reserves. So she, for example, I've included her on here, but only because in anticipation of the fact that we're going to see her in her own live action TV series. Anyway, so that's fine.
So this was your idea, and I give you all the credit in the world for this idea because it's a really cool idea, well overdue by you and I. But, you know, I was aimless in my list at first. Right. And then what I did is I created some criteria because we just said top 10 list. We didn't really put like a specific, just like when you talk about sports or anything, is it the most important? Is it the most iconic, right? So I put some criteria to it. Let me read off my criteria. I've got 6 bullet points of criteria. You chime in after each one of these and let me know if you think that's a good criteria and how you'd kind of define it. And if there's any other criteria you think we need to consider, okay?
Okay.
So the first one is cultural influence. And what I mean like that is that there are some names and references and characters that are just almost globally known now and like famous, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, everyone kind of knows that Yoda is like this wise mentor type character, right?
Who can't speak properly. Exactly.
Who cannot speak properly. Then I've got likability. And likability, for example, I think of Han Solo or maybe even Chewbacca, very, very likable versus someone like Moff Gideon, right? Who's not particularly likable. You know, so I've added a likability index. Then I've put like importance, or what I like to say is like galactic relevance. So for example, the Skywalker family is kind of central to the Star Wars universe. Mandalorian, for example, who is very, very likable and now has a huge cultural influence, doesn't really have the same importance in terms of the overall story, right? The story could kind of go on without him, for example. Then I've got generational reach. And I think this is a really, really important one. I think this is where we're going to have some battles, which is, let's use the mom index. My mom knows Chewbacca. My mom knows Han Solo. My mom probably does not know Kylo Ren. Like if I say Kylo Ren's coming over for dinner, I don't think she'd be like, wait a second, is Luke Skywalker with him? I think she'd be like, oh, who's that? Like, is that one of your friends from, okay. So generational reach. Then the next is recognition. You know, like there's some people that if you show someone a picture of them, they will immediately know that it's a Star Wars character, sometimes even the name. Sometimes it would just be an absolute blank, right? And then the hard one is alter ego. Is Anakin the same character as Darth Vader? I don't know. Is Ben Solo the same as Kylo Ren? I mean, as human beings, yes, but are we supposed to put them separate or combine them? And I've left that up to you, and I've done it myself in my way. So that's the criteria that I've used. Give me your initial feedback or your reaction to that. Have I missed anything, or am I adding something that's probably not relevant?
No, I think what you're saying is relevant, but I think you also have to recognize that I think Star Wars is a cultural phenomenon. I think most people would agree with that, whether you like it or not. I think that's just what it is. I also think that you have to realize or recognize that the people who are going to be listening to this are more likely to be Star Wars fans.
True.
And, for example, recognition, or actually maybe more importantly, generational reach is maybe, I don't want to say irrelevant because it does add value. Of course, it's important. I'm going to say for me, generational reach is less important because I would expect that of the top 10, even if there are some people who wouldn't know who every character are, I would expect that most people who are cinema fans would recognize that that's a Star Wars character.
That's probably right.
Yeah, I hesitate to use the mom index for this because if I'm genuinely going to use the mom index, out of 47 characters, I think my mom probably knows one, maybe two. Yeah, and I'm being really generous with that.
Yeah.
I actually think on a bad day, she probably wouldn't recognize any of these names.
Yeah.
If I told her, what do you think of Jabba the Hutt? Or what do you think of Mace Windu or Yoda? She'd be like, are you having a stroke? What is happening to you?
Call the ambulance.
Do you smell toast? Let alone Bosk or Dengar or IG-88.
Yeah.
I think that the mom index, at least in terms of my list, not applicable.
Can I give an example or how I think about this to put into context your Star Wars fandom and familiarity and my Star Wars fandom and familiarity? If there were a global Star Wars conference, which I'm sure that there is.
They just had one in London 2 weeks ago.
So that example right there says something. I say there must be a conference, and you say there was a conference in London 2 weeks ago. So that indicates where you and I are as fans, is that if you and I both went to that conference, first of all, you would know when it is and where it is.
Right.
We would both go, and I would say, I'm going to make this up, but let's just say that there's 1,000 people in that conference. I would expect you to be within the top 50 or 25% of the most knowledgeable, well-rounded people at that conference. And keep in mind, that's a conference of specialized Star Wars fans. I would put myself in the bottom 10% of that conference, meaning that I still belong there and they're not going to laugh me out, but I'm definitely not going to have a crowd of people around me to listen to me pontificate about my Star Wars knowledge. What do you think of that statement as a starting point?
I think, first of all, you're very generous, and I thank you for that. But I think you and I both would be in the bottom 10%.
Oh.
And that's not to say I'm discrediting you and me. I actually think that's how much more advanced hardcore Star Wars fanatics are. These are the guys who don't just know names of actors and names of characters. These are the guys who know like their birthplaces, their birth dates. They know their origin stories far better than I.
Maybe that's right. How many people do you think are in that group then, worldwide, that probably have like more Star Wars knowledge than you? Is that 10,000? I mean, of course we all know, but is that 10,000?
I hesitate to put a number like that. I'll put it this way. Out of every 100 people who have watched Star Wars or know of the Star Wars property, I would say 1 or 2 of them are like the moms and dads who are there to take their kids as chaperones, who aren't really there for the movies. They're there because it's their parental duty. I would say anywhere from 60 to 75, or 60 to make the numbers round, 78 are fans like you and me. Or let's say 60 to 78 are fans like you. So we know the movies, have seen most of the TV shows. I would say 10 to 15 are people who are a little bit more into the lore. They've seen all the TV series. They've read some of the books. And I would say 5 to 10 of them are the ones who are doing active research with other Star Wars super fans who've got schematics to the Millennium Falcon on their hard drives, who've got that level of detail and that level of immersion.
How many of those out of 100?
I think 5 to 10.
Yeah, because so maybe I'll put it this way. I mean, this is an exercise that's taking some time, but that's our purpose in life. If there was the Star Wars conference of the super fans, you would be there, and then you would be in the bottom 10%.
Yeah.
If there was some catastrophe, and I'm sorry, you're wiped out. That conference just fell into a sinkhole. All those people are gone.
We fell into a Sarlacc pit.
You've fallen into a Sarlacc pit. I've now been elevated to the top 5% of the remaining Star Wars knowledge base worldwide. You're the bottom 10% of the Top Gun best of the best. And I am now outside of that range. Okay, so I just wanted to say that to kind of put in perspective where we are with this list, right? It's not meant to be definitive speaking for the universe, but we're also not just a bunch of hobos that are, like spewing a bunch of rubbish. We have a little bit of something behind us.
Yeah. I think, yes. And I think that's ultimately what you're saying is exactly right, is we may not be one of those sweaty guys who has like intimate knowledge of like what size pantsuit Han Solo wears, but we know who Han Solo is. We know who Paz Vizsla is. We know enough to put this list of 47 characters together and where they're from.
Indeed. So without further ado, shall we start from 10 upwards?
Yep, I think that's right.
You want to kick it off with your number 10?
My number 10 is R2-D2.
Okay. Tell me why. Give me some justification. Where is this?
R2-D2 was one of 2 androids/robots in Star Wars. He was, for me, far more preferable than C-3PO. I hated C-3PO as a kid. I still get annoyed by him now as an adult. I just wanted to reach in through the screen and slap him around. And he was the robot that saved the day, right? He helped with the trash compactor. He helped with shooting the lightsaber out for Luke on the pleasure yacht. He was just the cool guy who kind of saved the day whenever it needed to be saved.
Okay.
And I'll also say he's the only robot on my list.
I put as number 10 Obi-Wan Kenobi / Ben Kenobi.
Alec Guinness.
Yeah, Alec Guinness. But I mean, again, I haven't done alter egos, so I consider him, throughout the life cycle. Every actor who's played him. So Ewan McGregor counts as well. So I'm saying Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my number 10 character. I haven't broken it down between Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor. I think that Ewan McGregor's been extremely respectful to Guinness and that family. And I think that he's really done great homage to what he created. But I think that Kenobi is a very good blend of old and new. So, my criteria in terms of like generational reach, I think that, even for like my parents or, parents that saw the original Star Wars, they would remember, Obi-Wan. I think for people that have seen, the most recent Kenobi series on Disney Plus, they would recognize him. And I think, to be honest, any hologram of Jedis would absolutely include his likeness. And obviously he's instrumental in the entire saga, from the mentorship of Anakin to obviously the, striking Anakin down, leading to, the resurrection as Darth Vader, the mentorship of Luke. We saw even his relationship with Leia. So I think that Obi-Wan / Ben Kenobi is my number 10 most important or influential Star Wars character.
Okay, that's super interesting. And unlike you, I have separated actors and roles because I think they're also fundamental. Obviously, as actors, they were different people, but I think also as characters, they were different people. And we'll talk about it when I get to him because spoiler alert, he's on my list as well. But yeah.
Yeah. So let me go on then to number 9 because my number 9 is R2-D2,
Hey!
which is your number 10.
Yeah.
And I said the same reasons. He was instrumental in a lot of scenes in the movies. He was in a number of different movies. To be honest, his droid likeness is highly recognizable. He was an extremely likable character. And to be honest, he was kind of the inspiration for a lot of other droids you see in a lot of other, movies or series now. So I think that R2-D2 is my number 9 most important or influential Star Wars universe character.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, my number 9 is, and I think this is going to be a shocker, Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren.
Oh, so you put them both in. Okay.
So for me, Ben Solo and Kylo Ren, same person.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But like, for example, Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, not the same person for me. And I think a primary reason for that is because we are introduced to Ben Solo as Kylo Ren throughout the series. Whereas the original trilogy, we know Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader, but the prequel trilogy, he's just Anakin Skywalker. He's not Darth Vader. And I know that sounds a bit odd, but we'll get to it when we talk about him. But for me, Ben Solo / Kylo Ren, number 9, in terms of recognition and in terms of, well, obviously the importance is sky high, right? He's a Skywalker and a Solo at the same time. So double coolness points on that basis.
Yeah.
In terms of quote unquote cool factor, the look factor, I mean, I don't know why they flip-flopped on it, but I thought his appearance as with that helmet and that cape in episode 7 was just spectacular.
Yeah.
I loved that he was so filled with rage that it affected his lightsaber as well. Mm-hmm. I thought that was excellent. Even though it was a dumb lightsaber design, I liked that it was a different lightsaber design, right? With the hilt and the 2 little cross guards.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of unique look and unique appeal, he ticks a lot of those boxes for me. And then, of course, I mean, this isn't really in the scope of it because we're talking about the characters, not the actors. But, Adam Driver is always a win, right? His rage, his acting, very good. So,
yeah, I mean, I have Kylo Ren on my list as well. Hard to argue with anything you've said there. But that's your number 9, correct?
Yes, that's my number 9. And I would also argue one additional point. He probably had, I would think that of all the main characters in the sequel trilogy, his was the only one that had a proper character arc.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to chime in here before I reveal him as well, because I'll probably give away a lot of reasons why I've had him a little bit higher. But definitely, I believe that he's been instrumental in the second generation of films. He absolutely is central to the universe.
100%.
Hard to keep him off that list. Okay.
100%.
who do you have for number 8?
Well, maybe unsurprising if you had listened to our previous episode. Number 8 is the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that had it not been for the Book of Boba Fett TV series, I don't think he would have made this list at all. But especially because of the Book of Boba Fett, I think Din Djarin has kind of supplanted himself and placed himself as the de facto Mandalorian / bounty hunter. I don't think there's a better bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying in terms of his success rate. I mean, just in terms of what we've seen on TV. I don't think we've seen anyone better than him, not just in terms of his abilities and fight sequences, but man, just look at him. When he's in the wind with the cape flowing around and the Beskar armor, there's no one who looks more scary and menacing and believable as a bounty hunter.
I'm entirely in agreement with you. Spoiler alert, I have him on my top 10 as well. But I have to say, I'm really impressed with how he's carved himself a place in the universe with this series. And I have to say, I have some issues with Kylo Ren, which I'll get to, even though he's on my list. But for the Mandalorian, I feel so comfortable including him because I feel like he's maintained a lot of, I think he's fit culturally with what I believe is the Star Wars look and feel. Some of the newer characters, Kylo Ren being one of them, I'm not sure if I really am comfortable with how they've kind of fit into the universe, even though they are important. The Mandalorian has really seamlessly kind of bridged the gap between the old and the new, the granular details of what I believe is the Star Wars universe with a very modern, kind of twist to it. So I agree with you. Mandalorian belongs in the top 10.
And I got to say, you're absolutely right. What Jon Favreau has done is created in 3 short seasons. I would argue one of the coolest hero characters that we genuinely want to know more about as much as we can get information about him.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes less is more, where the mystery, not knowing everything about him, leads to wanting more. And I think that's something that the Mandalorian blends very well. So that's your number 8, Mandalorian. My number 8, I take a very, very pregnant pause before saying this because it's a character I would like to have higher, but objectively I do not. I put Han Solo as number 8. And for me, Han Solo is top 3. But I have to say, the first 3 films are a distant memory for a lot of people. And I don't think that there's a generation that has, witnessed his swagger and his cockiness and, his masterful delivery of some zingers. I think I want to say the weirdness of Harrison Ford, but that's not really the way that it is. It's more that Harrison Ford has been such a successful actor that people don't see Han Solo. They see many of his other characters, including probably Indiana Jones, before they see Han Solo. And I think that Harrison Ford, at best, has been a poor advocate for the Solo character. At worst, he's done some character assassination. And I think, to be honest, I don't know how Harrison Ford feels about that, but I can't help but to believe that if he would be more passionate about that character and their place in lore, that Solo would have a better standing. And I guess lastly, or 2 lastly things. One, the standalone Solo film did absolutely nothing to burnish the reputation of Han Solo. If anything, it probably diminished it. And that's really disappointing. And then I have to say that his role in, what was it, episode 8? He was in 8, right, with Leia?
7
with Leia, and he died?
Yeah.
Those minor, I don't want to call it a cameo, but his limited scenes, I don't think, it didn't, I think, do anything to resonate with audiences either. So Solo is absolutely critical to the universe, but I don't think objectively I can put his importance higher than 8 right now.
Okay, that's fair enough. Where do you fall on number 7?
7, weirdly, Han Solo's son, Kylo Ren. I think that the recency of Kylo Ren and the centrality of him in those 3 films, right? I mean, Han Solo was always a supporting actor. He was a very, very important and critical supporting actor for a lot of reasons. I mean, and he was a hero, but Kylo Ren is the main character in 3 films, right? A lot of iconic scenes with him, even though personally, I'm not really fond of the Kylo Ren character. I think he's a little bit weirdly emotional. You and I could go back into those 3 films and find a lot of very, let's just call them like story gaps. I mean, at one point he has his grandfather's kind of like smushed helmet, and that's not really representative of what his helmet would have been like. The way that, Luke Skywalker trained him, but kind of lost him, I think is fuzzy at best, not particularly believable. And Kylo had this very strange relationship with Rey and was, I don't know, in a way overly emotional and angry for reasons that I can't really explain. He killed his father. I mean, there's a lot of character problems I have with Kylo Ren, but it's impossible to argue that being the star of 3 films, I cannot keep him out of my top 10. And to be honest, for that reason, he's more critical than his father was.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That was your 7. Mine is maybe a little bit out of left field. My number 7 is Darth Maul.
Whoa.
From all the way back to episode 1.
Did not see that coming. Walk me through it. Sell it to me.
So, of all the Sith, I would argue, with the exception of Darth Vader, he is probably the most recognizable, certainly the most unique, and certainly the one where you just one look at him, you realize, yep, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He also had one of the most pivotal orchestral soundtrack things attributed to him with Duel of the Fates. I think it was Duel of the Fates. I can't remember the name. And that fight sequence with a young Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon, I still think goes down as one of the best choreographed fight sequences in all of Star Wars. And that includes 7, 8, 9, which also had some spectacular fight sequences.
Darth Maul. All right.
Yeah.
7. Wow, it's 7.
Yeah.
That means there's some hard choices that you're going to have to make coming up.
Exactly. And I'm also biased because his arcs in Rebels and I think the Clone Wars, again, that's a little bit of inside baseball. That's a little cheating, but his arcs there were phenomenal. Also, what a cool name. You know his brother's name? Savage Opress.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Had no idea. That's why you're in the bottom 10, my friend.
Yeah.
That's why you're in the bottom 10.
You're onto it. Like, if that's my number 7, you're absolutely right. I had to make some hard cuts.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
All right, take me through it. What do you put for number 6 then?
Yoda. Or should I say Yoda, my number 6 is.
I don't know why I find that so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You need any introduction, or that speaks for itself?
It really should. He was the first merchandise magnets. Yoda was like one of the first ones where you were just like, yeah, I can see them making a killing off of the merchandising. He was iconic, not just because of his look, but because of his speech. And then, of course, he was always known as that wise, crazy one. But then the prequel trilogy kind of also set him up to be a kick-ass Jedi. Just the name alone, I think, says it all.
So I'm going to do a spoiler. I've got Yoda in my list as well. I'll get to him. But I want to say, 2 more things that support what you said. And the first is he has spanned a lot of films, right? So, I mean, we know him from kind of our childhood, 4, 5, 6. But yes, he was instrumental in 1, 2, and 3. And I have to say, more recently, he inspired Grogu in The Mandalorian. I mean, for episodes, people referred to Grogu before we knew his name as Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation that he was, in fact.
And I mean, thank God they didn't do that, because not everybody can be related to everybody in the universe.
But I have to say, as important as Grogu has been to The Mandalorian, and I don't think that can be understated, Yoda is really the inspiration for Grogu in size, mannerisms, everything. You know, we would not have liked Grogu as much if there had been no Yoda. So I definitely have Yoda in my top 10 list. So that's your number 6, right?
Yeah. What about you?
My number 6, also a non-human. It's Chewbacca the Wookiee.
Oh.
And I thought long and hard about this, but I have to say, and it's interesting that I have Chewbacca over Han Solo and over R2-D2, but I think Chewbacca also is widely, globally recognized.
Totally.
And I also don't think that you can have another Chewbacca, but you could absolutely have another Wookiee, and that Wookiee would, like Grogu, have good vibes from day one because of all the goodwill that Chewbacca has built up.
Yeah.
I've got Chewbacca in my top 6. I know that you could have a Star Wars universe without Chewbacca, but certainly those, 4, 5, and 6 episodes were highly enjoyable, and a lot of that had to do with the sidekickness of Chewbacca, and I just don't think that would be unable to be emulated. I mean, what he displayed, similar to what R2-D2 displayed, his combination of being a ferocious fighter, being a loyal friend, and to be honest, being a little bit emotional, at times, without ever saying a single word, I think is exceptional. I think Chewbacca is just iconic character in Star Wars lore, and he deserves a place in the top 10.
I think if you looked up the word sidekick in a dictionary, you'd see a picture of Chewbacca. He is the perfect sidekick.
So, and he got on with Solo. He got on with Lando Calrissian, who is not on my top 10 list, but certainly there. And all right, so Chewie is my number 6. On to number 5.
All right, here we go. This is where we separate the boys
from the Wookiees. So my number 5 is The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I think he's absolutely created a place for himself in Star Wars lore with these 3 exceptional series. Obviously, he made a cameo in Boba Fett. But I think that, to be honest, he's appealed to everybody. I think that he's, by virtue of this show being on Disney Plus, he satisfies the mom index. And obviously, I think even the hardcore Star Wars fans, recognize and accept Mandalorian. So I have to say, I think he's carved himself a place in the top 5 with his performance there. What do you got?
I've got Sheev Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious.
Wow, you are very villain heavy, I would say.
I went villain heavy also because as a franchise, Star Wars is one of the few franchises that has some excellent villains and really iconic bad guys. I mean, with all due respect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with very few exceptions, I mean, they're all cookie cutter bad guys that are, straight out of the comic books. There are very few franchises that I could say that the bad guy is equally interesting as the good guy. And I think Sheev Palpatine may not be as interesting, but he's certainly one of the most influential bad guys. Certainly. And, we obviously saw him return somehow. And I mean, that turn in the prequel trilogy, right, where he goes from this lovable, kind-hearted senator to being this evil bad guy that no one knows about. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
So that's number 5 for you, huh?
Yeah.
Palpatine.
Yeah, I think great influence over the Star Wars universe, right? I mean, without him, we wouldn't have 2 Death Stars.
Yeah.
And in terms of, we always kind of dismiss it, but he was also a senator. He knows how politics works, right? He basically took over the galaxy in a stunning legal maneuver.
Okay. What do you have for number 4? Now we're really getting into the thick of it. What do you have for number 4?
Leia Organa.
Oh, no
Skywalker.
way.
Yeah.
I've got her as my number 4 also. Let's go through it.
Princess Leia. All right.
Princess Leia. Tell me why.
Why not? I would say she's first of all, and I think this has probably been recognized, but isn't said enough. Kudos to Star Wars for also being the home to very, very strong, powerful women.
100%. Ahead of its time.
You don't normally see that in any franchise, and in sci-fi, it's usually even less.
Ahead of its time.
Totally.
I have to say, if Star Wars Empire Strikes Back came out today, Carrie Fisher would be the hottest actress in the world. Like hottest in terms of like the most popular.
Yeah.
Absolutely underrated as a fashion and hair icon.
Oh.
Absolutely underrated as a strong woman. Just think of her even in A New Hope, from the opening scene till the trash compactor. You know, you call this a rescue? I mean, she is Skywalker royalty, always portrayed
sassy, kinds of smart, not just a politically savvy person.
Yeah.
But
leader.
Then in the sequel trilogy, we see her as a general, right? So we see her as a leader as well. She ticks every box. If you're only interested in her looks, first of all, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie Fisher in the original trilogy,
golden
stunning.
Bikini. Say no more.
In terms of humor, hilarious. In terms of sass, she was the only one that could spar with Han Solo successfully and get away with it. Quintessential girl power character, and I love her all the more for it.
Can I tell you, saying all of that and agreeing word for word, I am so dismayed till now that episode 8 mucked things up so badly with her. I am just beside myself. I am just beside myself how badly that ended, particularly since she passed away after that. And there were so many options for her to have the heroic death that she absolutely deserved as a character and as an actress. And instead they just fumbled on like the 1 yard line. Terrible. It extraordinarily disappointing. Yeah.
But again, going back to it, speaking of iconic characters, I mean, look at her hairstyle alone. Everyone recognizes the 2 cinnamon rolls, right? Everyone. So her hair game was on point.
Her hair game was on point. Okay. Number 3, I have Yoda. I told you why. What do you have?
Number 3, I have Han Solo.
Whoa.
I was a bit surprised by that too. I didn't think he would place as highly as he did. But I really, the more I think of him, I mean, he was probably the first bad boy that I ever saw in the movies. He's like the archetypical rogue, right? Yeah. This swashbuckling pirate wannabe type smuggler who's hot as all hell and he knows it. Super full of confidence, super savvy, conned the Millennium Falcon away from Lando.
Yep.
I agree that the movie probably did him a disservice, but I'm discounting that. I still think of as Han as, for me, one of the pillars. Because if you looked at it this way, I saw, for example, Luke as always being like, this is in D&D parlance, he was a lawful good character, right? He's kind of like the knight in shining armor. He always believes in doing the right thing no matter what. This is young Luke,
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Han as more like a chaotic good character, almost chaotic neutral, but he always erred on the side of good at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy who's out for himself, but when push comes to shove, if he needs to do the right thing, he'll get it done.
I agree with you. Obviously, I have him at number 8, and I'm just so unhappy with that Solo movie. I just think that was such a terrible, terrible movie for such an iconic character, and you just have to handle these things with care. And that movie just disgusts me.
Yeah.
Really disgusts me to this day. Someone who deserved, the backstory, disappointing. But I agree with you. He's certainly an iconic character within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. So who's your number 3?
My number 3 was Yoda.
Oh, okay.
And again, my Yoda is bumped up a little bit by his inspiration for Grogu. And I think that just demonstrates,
his legacy.
And the same thing, if there's ever a hologram of Jedis, maybe Samuel L. Jackson appears in it, but not necessarily. We know it's going to be Kenobi. We know it's going to be Yoda. Absolutely, right? Like those two have to be in it. Yoda is part and parcel, the Jedi Academy. So I think that he's a really iconic character.
Yeah.
I think we've got the same 2. It's just a matter of what order we've got them in, right? Both of us have, is it correct? We both got Skywalker and Vader?
That's exactly right. The question is, which one's number 2 and which one's number 1?
I've put Darth Vader as number 2.
Oh, okay. We flipped it. I've got the.
Do you have it switched?
I do. I've got very specifically a young Luke as number 2. So Luke Skywalker, who's the Jedi, but not the Padawan. Yeah. And I've got Darth Vader, so I've got Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader, not Anakin Skywalker as a Jedi.
So walk me through why you've got the 1, 2, and I'll tell you why I've got them 2, 1.
So I think that of the 2 characters, Luke only got interesting in terms of character traits as he got older in the sequel trilogy. I think that Luke was more the cut and dried good guy, and that he didn't have as much of let's say complicated history as I was hoping, or as Anakin did. That's the first reason. But Luke got really interesting after the hand incident with his dad, where you see shades of dark inside him in the 3rd movie, right? In Return of the Jedi, when you start to see the shades of dark within Luke, that's when I thought, yeah, this guy is going to have a hard time straddling the line between the light side and the dark side. But if there's anyone who can do it, I think it's him.
So first of all, let me say, I think Darth Vader is the greatest villain of all time. With my apologies to Hans Gruber in Die Hard, absolutely, Darth Vader is the best villain of all time.
Yeah.
He has a perfect outfit, cloak. He has a perfect voice. Everything about him, visually and audibly, I think makes him the greatest villain of all time. I think that his backstory is fantastic, although I think that there's nothing remarkable about Anakin Skywalker. There's nothing really interesting about his character arc, and I think that his flip from, Jedi to the dark side is mangled and clumsy at best. Mm-hmm. But I think that, Vader is part of the first modern plot twist. I think that Empire Strikes Back came out in 1984. Is that right? 83? As far as I'm aware, that is really the first modern cinematic plot twist where he says, and how iconic is that line? Luke, I am your father, right? And Luke's like, it's not true. And I think that was probably the first time in cinematic history where an audience just gasped and said, I didn't see that coming. No way, right? We never anticipated that. I think Vader's amazing, but the reason I have him number 2, and I think he's absolutely iconic, the helmet, the cloak, the outfit, people around the world aged 10 to 90 probably all know that. I think that in terms of his acting, I think he's a very compelling character, primarily because of visually and how powerful he is. But in terms of like his acting, I don't think that there's any real range of acting. And I don't think that there's anyone who's really looked up to Vader in terms of wanting to be him or wanting to hate him. He was just a menacing, powerful character. Whereas I put Luke number 1 because he's really the namesake of the franchise.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone else could ever be cast as him. You could have, we've seen Vader we see him in Boba Fett, or we saw him in Mandalorian. Or we saw
Vader?
him in Kenobi. No, we saw him in Kenobi, right?
Kenobi, yeah.
Right? So Vader can be kind of recast, and he's always just as menacing and just as powerful, but he can be replicated, copy and paste. Whereas Skywalker, I think you could never, just like Back to the Future, you can never have another Marty McFly. You can never have another Luke Skywalker.
Who can forget that iconic logo of him holding up the lightsaber, right? On the DVD cover.
And I think that, Mark Hamill, and I'm not like a massive Mark Hamill fan, but I think that he's done a very, very good job of, supporting the Skywalker character. He's never tried to run away from that character. He's never tried to find another role where he gains weight or loses weight or tries a dramatic role as an anorexic father or something where he tries to like run from that role. He's always embraced Skywalker. He's always acted, as far as I'm aware, like with a lot of dignity and pride for that character. I don't think it can ever be recast. And I think that his performance, all those movies, when you talk about his character arc, he's gone from we talked about this like in A New Hope. He was a whiny farm hand, right? Working for and like not at all admirable or likable at all.
Yeah.
And by the time you see him in Return of the Jedi, dressed in all black, he is supremely confident. And, his transformation, I think, across those episodes has been really dramatic. We believe in, you think of him like clinging on to the pole in Cloud City, sweaty, without a hand, scared in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I think that he's just had such a great story arc. He is the namesake of this franchise, and I've put him as number one for that reason.
Yeah, you rightly said, the reveal that Luke is his son.
Oh.
The voice, I mean, James Earl Jones' voice.
James Earl Jones is so good. Yeah.
What a great voice. I don't know. I think Rogue One is what shifted that towards me, because so in 4, 5, and 6, we had always known that Darth Vader was this supremely powerful being. But really, we had only been told that. It wasn't until that hallway fight sequence in Rogue One, and then in the Kenobi TV series, where we see the true power that Darth Vader has.
Yeah.
So, and you got a similar sequence with Mark Hamill's Luke in the 2nd season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I still think that, the juxtaposition of the dark hallway and then the red lightsaber sparking.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see half of his face with the dark red. Oh, I just thought that was such an iconic visual.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately between the two of them, for me, it came down to not good versus evil. I think it just came down to which visual is more iconic of the two of them. And could have been either. It just happened to fall for me on Darth Vader.
Okay. So our starting lineups are set. We've got some very angry people in the wings.
Absolutely. So before we feed ourselves to the angry mob, tell me, who are your bench warmers on this list?
So let me divide them into two ways. I'm going to divide them into people that I think are very consequential, but they didn't do it for me. And then I'm going to put the people that I really liked, but they're not consequential enough. So let me say the people that I really like, but objectively they're not so critical. Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, he's on mine too.
I mean, I love him. I don't know of anyone who doesn't like him. He was even amazing in Solo.
Yeah.
But he's a bit character, and he's just not consequential enough to be in the top 10, but absolutely deserves his own series or more, because he's a fascinating character. Billy D. Williams portrayed him so well, and whoever was the dude,
Donald Glover,
amazing. Number 2, I like Jyn Erso, not recognizable enough, but someone that I thought played for that limited role in Rogue One. I thought that she played that extremely well. She defined what it is to be a rebel. Like her a lot, but objectively absolutely doesn't fall into top 10. I think C-3PO was very important. I know that he annoys you, but I had to say, there was a time when I was considering R2-D2 and C-3PO as one.
Yeah, as a duo. I agree. I thought the same as well.
Yeah. I mean, C-3PO on his own is a little bit annoying, but it was his personality that allowed R2 to kind of sparkle, and they played off of each other really well. I'd say Grogu. Grogu is absolutely beloved now, but again, he's riding on the coattails of Yoda. And I think if he didn't have Yoda's goodwill, that he wouldn't have the same fanfare that he has now. That's the folks that I like, but I recognize that they're not consequential enough. Now, in terms of omissions, Rey, Palpatine, Skywalker, whatever we call her now, shocking to me, and I think a real indictment on Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams and Kathleen, whoever, Daisy Ridley,
yeah,
who's so pretty, carries herself well, hasn't been in any other films that I'm aware of, that she is the star, a strong, modern woman in 3 Disney Star Wars films, and she doesn't crack my top 10. I think they've dramatically mismanaged her character, and it's really disappointing because she should absolutely be an iconic female heroine, but she's not. It's really disappointing to me. She should, with the amount of the reach that Disney has now and the importance of those 3 films, the fact that she's not in my top 10 is I think because Disney just created 3 shitty films for her to star in, and it's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Padme Amidala.
Oh, okay.
Of course, she's the mother of Luke and Leia. She is, I guess, the wife of Vader or Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
She was a princess. She was extraordinarily, fashionable. She was carried herself, she carried herself very well. She was intelligent. She wasn't just like empty. So I think she is historically important. And I think that, again, 1, 2, and 3 really just made her be this weird love obsession of Anakin. And I don't think it really gave her the strong mother figure. Even the fact that, she did what she had to do to kind of like name her children and protect them before she passed away, I think is really not given the true impact that it should have been. And then I've listed Cassian Andor, who I know gets a lot of press now because he's got his own series. He was in Rogue One, but again, I don't think that there's enough to him to make him, he's a side figure. He's just a member of the Rebel Alliance, maybe a prominent one, but not enough to justify him, I think. And then I've got another category. This is going to hurt you. I call this category canonically important, but I feel that they are only filling a caricature despite being very menacing, and that's Moff Gideon, Darth Maul,
okay,
and Palpatine and Sidious. They were all very good villains. I think we could have shuffled them around. You could have given different names, different images. They were all villains in 1 or more episodes, but none of them rose to the level of Vader. And maybe that's because we don't know enough about, or maybe their backstories aren't compelling enough to us. So that's my bench that did not make the cut to my top 10.
All right. So I'm going to start off by saying the only reason he's on my bench is because I didn't know where to place him, and I didn't want to leave him tied with any one of my top 10s. It's a young Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, yeah.
Ewan McGregor, I thought he was excellent. I honestly, if I were able to put him as a tied character, he'd be probably tied for number 2.
Whoa.
Again, only the young one. I think Ewan McGregor, I have a man crush on Ewan McGregor. I think he's fantastic. I think he's just so good. And I think he did Alec Guinness the opposite of a disservice. Like, he made that character so much more. I mean, I don't even know how to say more in his favor. That's how much I like him.
Yeah.
Let's go from top of the list. So Lando, we spoke about.
We did.
Here's a shocker. Chewbacca's on my bench.
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt's on my bench. And the last one on my bench is Ahsoka Tano. So even though I love Katie Sackhoff, even though I love Bo-Katan, I still think Ahsoka takes her place on the bench.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Bo-Katan either. Even though I love that character, I just don't feel like that's important enough to the, to the Star Wars universe, to include her.
Yeah.
My biggest disappointment is that I don't have this gravitation towards Rey that I feel that I should have. And I feel that Han Solo has not maintained his legacy just because of lack of effort by Harrison Ford and because that terrible standalone film. But those for me are the two low-hanging fruits that, had history played out a little bit differently, they would be much higher.
She's the only Skywalker not on the list, and that too. I mean, every other member of the Skywalker family made it except for her.
And I'll say this about Daisy Ridley: I don't expect anything more from her in terms of the roles that she played. If she would say, "Hey, what did I do wrong?" I would not say you didn't do anything wrong. They've created a storyline for your character that just didn't allow you to elevate to the Princess Leia Organa level. Like, they made you in this bizarre FaceTime love affair with your nemesis. What the flip is that? They made you an orphan for 2.5 movies, and then they suddenly revealed that you're Palpatine's daughter. What? That's not you. That's just very bad storytelling. Had you been an orphan, remained an orphan, I mean, I don't know if you'd be in my top 10, but you'd be a much more compelling character to me. Had you not had this bizarre long distance telepathic relationship with Kylo Ren, I'd really respect you way more as a Jedi, So it's absolutely not Daisy Ridley, who I think nailed that role. It's my unending disappointment with not so much 7, but 8 and 9 that just mucked everything up, actually.
Yeah, the writers kind of burned that whole thing. So
that's not just me talking out of turn. That's demonstrated by the fact that they haven't made another film in 5 years, because it's been widely agreed that now the storyline is almost like irreparably mucked up, and it didn't have to be. They did an amazing job introducing Rey, a super addition to the Skywalker family. I accept her. I adopt her into the Skywalker family. Kylo Ren, I accept him as a character. I do not accept that, Luke Skywalker was mentoring him, and then things got a little bit weird, and he went to go kill him in his bed, and then he flipped to the dark side and worships his grandfather, and then he killed his dad. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do not accept your version of those events. I don't even want to be hired by Disney. I would do it on a pro bono basis, but I would like to be the vice president. I would like to be your vice president of common sense. When you say, hey, this is what we're thinking for Kylo Ren, and I could just hit my red buzzer, just like Grogu. No. No,
exactly.
No. I do not accept that. Anyway, that's where I am.
That's our highly, highly controversial top 10 list.
This has been about the most fun I've had on a Friday night in a long time, Pete. Seriously. I really enjoyed thinking about this. Like I said, the pie chart of what I've done today in preparation for this episode is, I'm going to maintain that in my confidential records, but I put a lot of time and effort and thought into this, but it's been super fascinating. Thanks for spearheading this.
No, my pleasure. Absolutely. And more importantly, we want to hear your top 10 lists. Who's on your bench? Reach out to us. Let us know. Email us, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com. Like this video and leave us a comment below. You can tweet at us at FNS Podcast on Twitter, or you can DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Pete, as always, appreciate you joining and appreciate you doing, especially when you are remote.
No, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ethan. It was really great.
See you next time on Films and Stuff. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.